Hi and welcome to this edition of the HealthHubble podcast. My name is Carrie Plummer and I'm the editor and content manager here at HealthHubble. Today I'm thrilled to introduce as my guest Krysten Taprell. Krysten is a psychologist and has over 20 years experience in working with children and families. She has an extensive experience of working with people on the Autistic Spectrum, as well as being involved in diagnostic testing. Having worked within schools, private practices and government agencies in Australia, Krysten is now also a published children's author. In working within a variety of settings, Krysten has seen a range of common themes with clients. And in response to this, she has developed a range of creative ideas and tips to help bring proven strategies and activities to help overcome and manage these, which are featured on her website, thetherapistparent.com, and shared via her social media channels. So without further ado, welcome Krysten. Thank you so much for joining me today.
No, thank you, Carrie. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's a real pleasure. So I guess for those who are tuning in and don't necessarily know a huge amount about you, perhaps let's start with who you are and what you do.
So I am a mum of 3 kids.
Yeah.
I'm a psychologist, like you said, that I've worked in. I work in schools at the moment as part of a government agency job, but I also do autism assessments. I am also an artist and a author and a blogger and all of those things, lots of hats.
There's a lot of hats there. So what motivates you and what do you like to do outside of clinic time?
So when it comes to work and what motivates me with work is just working with kids. I love seeing their changes as they develop. I love seeing, when that switch turns on and they finally get something, or you notice the changes in their development as they get older. I love being able to see things from their perspective and use creative ways to help them understand things as well. So that's kind of my motivation with work. But outside of work, like I said, I paint. I'm having a solo exhibition later in July this year. So that's something new. And then, because I do so much and I am quite busy, I'm conscious of looking after myself and doing all our self-care things. So I run, I jog, I make sure I'm looking after my body, but also looking after my mental health with catching up with friends and, all of those kind of things.
All of the important things, definitely. Now, you're a psychologist, as my introduction covered, and have considerable experience in working with children and families. So for those who may not know what that involves, could you give us examples of how you work with families?
Yeah, so it depends the way that they've come to see me. So if they've come to see me through the school setting, or if they've come because there's been some difficulties with behaviour of their kids, which is something that comes up a lot, like kids have trouble with anger or anxiety or things like that. So I may help with some parenting. So I run some parenting groups, or so parents will sometimes go, you know what, I don't want to parent my kids the way I was brought up, and that's bound to happen. So unless we consciously choose not to, we will automatically parent the way our parents did. And when we're growing up, we'll think, I'm not going to be like my mum. And then as you have kids, your mum comes out of your mouth.
Yeah.
So sometimes that's what we'll sort of work. So giving parents another perspective to see things from their kids' point of view, to understand child development, and to understand that behaviour is a way of communication, and seeing it from that point of view. When it comes to seeing kids, so the majority of it doesn't matter what they're coming to see me for a lot, it goes back to helping them recognise emotions. So helping them to work out what they're feeling, and so we often will teach kids to walk, we teach them to talk, we teach them to write, read, but we don't teach them how to recognize their emotions. So understanding what their body's doing, understanding that it's okay to have emotions, and to work out what it is to feel happy, sad, angry, scared, worried, frustrated, annoyed, all of those things, and giving them some strategies to manage them.
It is about providing that toolkit, isn't it, and kind of exploring those emotions. Now, you've written a number of articles that we proudly host on our website, and we share through our social media, which in turn has then been kind of shared by our followers and readers, which is just fantastic. And you've covered subjects from understanding child brain development, and how self-care can actually be used in role modelling with your children, and all the way through to kind of managing anxieties with the return back to school. Are there any common themes that you see?
So common themes that I see a lot with parents is that the expectations of what kids should be able to do is like here, and what kids can actually do is down here. So, I think parents often think kids should be little adults and they should be able to logically work things out and know that that's not going to work, or if you give them the blue cup and they want pink cup, they should be able to realise that there's still cups and you should just be able to drink out of them. But that's actually not the case. The kids are learning. They're not able to process all this. They're not able to understand and recognise their emotions. They're not able to think through logically. That's our job, and so a lot of that I see with parents is kind of saying, you know what, at that age, that's actually quite normal, and we need to help them. So not that we want them to stay there, we need to teach them, but that's okay that they're doing that, because that's what they're supposed to be doing at that age. Look, with kids, again, it comes back to just recognising those emotions. I see a lot of kids with anxiety or anger issues, or ways of managing their anger. So they're pretty common themes that I come across a lot. Yeah. So anxiety though could be like, it can be separation anxiety, or it could be anxiety about starting new things, and they can be normal, or they can be maybe that little bit too anxious. But sometimes it's just normalizing that as well.
Yeah, and I think it's about, as a parent, understanding kind of normal development, and understanding that actually, as a parent, it's really hard, isn't it? Because you kind of, me as a parent, when my girls were younger, I was always worried about certain kind of responses, and just having that reassurance, actually, that's a normal response as a parent means, a huge amount. Now, here in the UK, like many countries around the world, this past year has been an incredibly difficult one to process as an adult, let alone trying to make this comprehensible for children. And there's obviously been an increasing pressure on parents who've been juggling work and homeschooling, financial pressures, and a lot of other pressures that have come through from the pandemic. Are there any simple strategies that we can follow or adopt that may help in reducing the pressure for parents?
Yeah, look, I think just across the board, we need to cut ourselves some slack. Give everybody a bit of grace. It's hard. It's hard for everybody, and that's the thing. It's hard for parents and it's hard for kids. And it's okay to admit that, and it's okay to say, you know what, I'm finding things really hard. Not saying it as to put pressure on the kids, not giving them too much information, but you can say, yeah, I'm finding things really stressful at the moment too. I'd like to be able to go out and do things, or I need to get things done, and it's not getting them done, and I'm finding that really hard. Or and then and empathize with your kids. I get that you want to see your friends, and if you can't, I wonder what we can do about that. What could we do to help make things a bit better? And look, brainstorm it together. And that, in doing that, you're letting them feel heard. You're letting them understand your emotions as well, which is coaching them on how to deal with it, and coming up with ideas. You're modeling with what you can do to help when things are hard, and it's okay that things are hard. But I guess when it comes to homeschooling, that's really hard,
isn't it?
So homeschooling is really hard, and here in Australia, we've not had the lockdowns that you guys had. We've had one really long lockdown where I live. We've had some smaller ones around Australia, but look, and for that one experience that I had, it was really difficult. So I can only imagine how hard it has been for you guys. But in my experience and the people I've spoken to about homeschooling and how to sort of help it, again, it just comes back to really lower those expectations. Lower the expectations of the amount of work you're going to be able to get done. Lower the expectations of how much schoolwork's going to get done. And you know what? That's okay.
Yes.
But don't put these pressures on yourself that aren't necessary. So don't feel that the kids have to be at school from 9 till 3. They don't. They usually can get through school, the amount of schoolwork in a lot less time. And if that works that they do it in the morning, great. But if it works that they do it in the afternoon to fit in with your work, then that's okay too. Like, be flexible. It's good to have some routine so everyone knows what's to expect, but it doesn't have to fit into what school is like from day to day. So,
I agree. It's that whole managing of reality and expectation, and actually just like you said, cutting yourself some slack and being just maybe a little bit kinder to yourself with all of the things that we're kind of spinning around at the moment. It's just being able to keep things at a reasonable level.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, it's okay to sort of talk to the kids and say, look, I really have to get this done at this time. So I'm going to be unavailable here. What would you like to do when I am available? And then have that. So they know, okay, from this time to this time, no, but I'm going to get some time with mum or dad afterwards from here to here. So it gives them something to look forward to. It gives them some boundaries of what's okay, where it's going to happen and where it's not.
That's great advice. Now, as I mentioned in my introduction, you are a published children's author. Your new book, The Dream Director. Could you tell us a little bit about your new book, and also what the inspiration was in both writing and you illustrated the book too?
Yes. Well, I mean, the inspiration was that I would see people coming through my door with kids having nightmares. And look, nightmares are exhausting for everybody. It affects the whole family. And when kids are having regular nightmares, it's really hard. And it's really hard for everyone. But there are strategies to use that are helpful and very effective. So the strategy that I've always used with kids is that we change the ending of their dream. And by doing that, we're giving them control over their dreams. So dreams no longer become this scary thing that, what am I going to dream tonight when I go to sleep? But they are then able to go, okay, well, if I have a scary dream, I can change the ending. And it is a technique that has actually been researched, and it works well. Yeah. That if you imagine another ending, and usually if you make it funny, it takes the fear out of it as well. So if you change it to something that's really stupid and funny, they'll go back to sleep smiling and laughing. And then they're no longer afraid. So when I was seeing that come through my door so often, I just thought this is really silly that people have to come and see a psychologist for something that is really quite simple. Parents can do it, they just need to know how. So I turned it into a children's book.
Well, it's just beautiful. And as you said, bad dreams can affect the whole family. And I remember when my daughters were growing up and very small, nightmares were a regular problem. And it is exhausting. And trying to, as a parent, be able to help and coach your child, dreams feel very real. So being able to have a resource to go to is just fantastic, and it is a beautifully illustrated book.
Thank you. Yeah, I think parents are often at their wits' end and they're tired, and we don't know what else to do. So it's like, it's just a dream, or just think of something else. But that doesn't work because for the child, their heart's racing, their body's tense. For them it was real. And saying to think something else doesn't work. If I say to you, don't think about chocolate, you just thought about chocolate. So, so it only makes you think about it more. So that's why we don't say think about something else. We use the same dream, we just change it so that we've still got the same things happening, but we can make it a nicer ending.
It's really powerful stuff. Now, finally, as a successful clinician, business owner, author, and mother, what is the one piece of advice that you would give to your younger self?
Do you know what? I think that I would tell myself that no one ever feels like they've got it together, and everybody's winging it all the time, and it doesn't matter how old you are. Don't wait until you think you know what's going on, because you'll never know what's going on. That time doesn't come. And the other thing is you never stop learning. So don't just put everything off until you finally reach that point, because you'll never get there.
No, I love that. I love that. Now, Kristen, thank you so much. Now, you can read more from Kristen within our articles section hosted with HealthHubble.com, or you can go over to Krysten's website, thetherapistparent.com, or via her social media feeds. Her newly published book, The Dream Director, is also available now through the Book Depository. Kristen, thank you so much for your time today. It's been an utter joy in speaking with you. Thank you so much.
That is fine. Thank you so much.